Hey, what's up, YouTube? This week is a massive show. Gavin, you did something very, very smart, but also very stupid with AI.
Yes, I played around with the new control net settings that allows you to make those spirals, as well as tried and completely failed at a really interesting Midjourney prompt to make little tiny people in big worlds.
I will also show you how to, in one click, swap your face or a friend's face into any movie or music video, and Gavin and I will get destroyed by our very own AI creation.
I've seen NPCs with more wit and talent.
We'll tell you how we made Chet come to life, and you'll see exactly why we regret it on episode 24 of AI for Humans.
Welcome, everybody. We are here. It is another episode of AI for Humans. Thank you for joining us. We are a fun show that goes deep on AI tools and news for regular people like you and me and my co-host, Kevin Pereira. Kevin, how are you today?
Hi, look at me. I'm just being regular, just a regular person. It says it on the screen on the little lower third. Regular meatbag.
That's your motto, Kevin Pereira, regular for over 25 years.
I'm
you had a few years of weirdness.
Like you. Yeah, I had a period, sure, where Metamucil wouldn't sponsor me, but don't worry, I'm as regular as they get. I am in Louisiana. If you happen to get the video version and you see the fire ant allergic reaction on my arm, don't worry. I did plenty of Googling, and I fought with language models, which are what powers AI for our regular broad audience, Gavin. I fought with language models to help me diagnose what was going on with my arm, and I had to role play with them in order to get them to tell me what the heck was going on and if I needed to go have a limb severed. I don't, by the way. Spoiler.
What was the role that you played?
Well, I had to tell it that, it wasn't like a kinky role play scenario. It wasn't like, Dr. Fishnets will see you now. It was more like, hey, I have a practitioner. I just want to sanity check their advice, their professional advice against what you would hallucinate, large language model. But anyway, that's where we're at. It's 95 degrees. You're going to see me hit a flop sweat in the middle of this, but I would be frothing anyways. My pores would be open and screaming with anticipation, Gavin, because today's show is promising to be one of the most packed AI for Humans we have ever had in the history of our 24 episodes. Can you believe that?
My God, man, my God. It's been a while. That's half a year almost. It's pretty crazy.
I do want to shout out, we're a very new endeavor. So we like to say this every week because it's important to us, and maybe it will be important to you. Dear listener, dear viewer, please engage with this podcast. If you're on YouTube, click the thumb, click the bell, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out. Leave a comment. If you're on Apple Podcasts, we love the 5-star reviews. We read them each and every episode, and we are exploding on TikTok. Gavin has been crushing it over there. So if you happen to see us on the TikTok, make sure you share and leave a comment because that helps get us in front of more people. That's said, right. Gavin, what a show today. Is there any particular thing you are excited for?
Okay, well, I'm very excited to hear about multi-modal AIs that are coming. We're going to explain what that means, and also we're going to talk about the updates that Google is going to push out soon, and maybe ChatGPT racing to catch up with them.
Yes.
I'm also very excited to show you my pretty much complete fail at attempting to repurpose a really interesting Midjourney prompt that we'll talk about in the dumb thing we did with AI. What about you? What are you excited about?
I also did some really dumb things with AI that I love, Gavin, because they were all epic failures, but they were funny and they were single-click endeavors. And that's what I always love is being able to show something, and I know that as I'm demoing it, the audience, if they want to try it, they can go out there and be running it within minutes, and it's all free. So I'm very excited for that. As you said, we got some huge news stories. We also have, just like we do every single show, an exciting new co-host, Gavin.
I can't wait to meet him. Who's our co-host this week? I don't know this at all. I'm really interested to find out who's going to join us here.
For the uninitiated, here's how it works. We don't really know our co-host. I mean, we come up with a prompt, which is what you use to tell an AI to start generating text. And we have a prompt for a little bit of a backstory, but we don't know what they're going to say until they start saying it. So with that said, let's meet our new co-host today.
Good day, peasants of the airwaves. I'm Chet P. Tennyson, but the cool kids, and that's basically everyone who's anyone in the gaming world, simply call me Game Genius Chet.
Oh.
Born and bred in the epic expanse of Maine, I've transcended mere mortals' understanding of video games. I've critiqued everything from AAA titles to those obscure gems like Lobster, Lagoon, Lunacy.
What?
Oh, you haven't heard of it, figures. But I digress. You're probably more familiar with my YouTube channel, where I bless the masses with my unparalleled insights. Gavin, Kevin, I'm honored to grace your show and elevate it to newfound heights. Let's dive deep into the world of pixels, shall we?
Game genius Chet. I got Gavin. Did you see that? I had never heard of, what was it, Lobster Lagoon Lunacy?
Me either. That sounds fantastic. I want to hear more about Lobster Lagoon
I thought that was a built-in Amico title that was never going to see the light of day, and yet here we are. And again, for those who don't know, Gavin and I have been in the gaming industry for decades, and I'd never heard.
Yeah. Why has there never been a Lobster video game? It's a pretty good idea.
Oh, Lobster Lagoon Lunacy? Oh boy, you're in for a treat. Or perhaps a claw pinch.
Oh.
The game is a Maynesian classic, you see. Now,
Maynesian.
sit tight, my unenlightened friend, and let the maestro walk you through it. The setting is the charming Lobster Lagoon in none other than picturesque Maine.
Oh, it's where
You play as
from.
Larry,
It's a local
an
game.
ambitious lobster with dreams bigger than the biggest pot of boiling water. Larry doesn't just want to end up as someone's dinner. He aspires to be the king of Lobster Lagoon. What's truly mesmerizing about Lobster Lagoon Lunacy is its impeccable use of water, physics, and its innovative claw combat system.
Oh.
CCS.
Tell me about the CCS.
The game boasts some breathtaking underwater graphics, capturing Maine's aquatic beauty. You'd think that Larry's tiny little eyes couldn't convey emotion, but the cutscenes, heart-wrenching. Lobster Lagoon Lunacy is truly a masterpiece combining romance, action, and adventure. But of course, if you haven't heard of it, I'm hardly surprised. My vast reservoir of knowledge is both a gift and a curse.
Of course it is.
Ah, the trials of being me.
Of course, Chet. I'm so sorry. We don't know how difficult it is. Oh, man.
Chet is a very focused gamer. I just want to put it that way. Like, there's people out there that dedicate themselves. Chet, you are dedicated, and we appreciate that here.
I feel like I got yelled at for like 5 straight years in a row at Comic-Con by Game Genius Chet. I feel like Game Genius Chet waited in line to have me sign something and then let me know how much I suck. That voice is triggering something deep within my belly.
Deep within you, yeah.
Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah, so we're going to have Chet stick with us all show long. We're going to have him weigh in on some of the news. And then later on in the show, I don't know exactly why we did this. We are going to go to a job interview where Chet is going to be an AI boss looking to hire either Kevin or myself. So stick around for that.
Why we would hand the wheel of this show over to Chet, I don't know. Maybe because we made the decision late last night and didn't put enough thought into it. Either way, here we are. Another dumb thing we will be doing with AI, which reminds me, Gavin, it's time for that portion of the show where we waste everybody's time with the dumb things we did with AI.
Let's be clear, just so everybody knows, these are dumb things we do with AI, but each of these dumb things is using a tool that you at home can go and try yourself. These are things that we thought as normal humans, Kevin and I, as smart as we might be, as many years in this business as we might be, we are not developers. We do not spend a lot of time in terminal windows. We do not spend a lot of time doing code, but we can do these things, and we hope that you can kind of learn to do them too. Should I start? I'll start off this week.
Yeah, well, Gavin, what you experimented with this weekend took over every feed. I mean, it was everywhere, and it was a new visual technique that led to incredible results.
So this first one is not as dumb a thing as I might originally have thought. So there's an actual tool out there called ControlNet, and ControlNet is essentially a plugin for Stable Diffusion, which we've talked about in the show many times. Stable Diffusion is kind of the Android to Midjourney's Apple phone in that it's very maneuverable. You can do a lot of things with it. It is an AI imaging software, very versatile. You can do all sorts of crazy things with it that you can't do with Midjourney. And ControlNet is one of those things. ControlNet is going to allow you to give Stable Diffusion a specific model that the image generation is going to follow. In previous instances, you were able to take a person's pose. Let's say a person's posing like a fist in the air. You could make your person match that pose, and it would give you an ability to kind of take that pose and make it. It's a really cool thing. What happened over the weekend is there was a really interesting use case of ControlNet, which was allowing people to make QR codes with images. This all happened like 3 or 4 months ago, but then somebody took this and created a really cool spiral look so that basically there's a spiral pattern, and then the spiral pattern was placed over a really cool image of what looked like kind of an ancient city. And it was gorgeous, right? It was this kind of like drop dead gorgeous piece of art. And everybody was like, wow, how'd you do that? What is that? And it felt like kind of a breakthrough moment for AI art. I don't know if you felt this way too, but it felt like people were saying, I get AI art now. I understand what can be done with it. So it's a really cool thing. You should go look up those spiral things.
A lot of folks were doing outdoor scenes and anime castles in the cloud. The QR code of it all worked, Gavin, because it was keeping it's the black against the white, the harsh contrast.
Yeah.
And as long as it could keep that really harsh contrast, you can make gorgeous imagery of dragons and castles and clouds, and you could still scan it with your phone and it would work. And so here you're saying someone used a spiral, and when you infuse that into an image, you can still get a beautiful anime castle in the clouds, but the shadows and the lighting and the foliage of a tree, everything is harshly contrasted, so that if you squint or you look at the image a certain way, you can still see the black and white pattern that is sort of baked into the imagery.
And the difference with the QR codes was it was being done for functionality, and now it's being done for art specifically, right? If you look at these pictures I sent Kev, and I said, like, let's see what it looks like in a forest, and you see this really kind of cool tree branch that goes in a circle. I took a lava tube, which was kind of this thing that kind of circled around too. And then I took this pictures of an abandoned mall. And I love abandoned malls. I love liminal space. So I got Midjourney to create a picture of abandoned mall. And then I put this picture into this thing. And I did two versions of this. One was the spiral and one was the squares. And both of them made like this really cool piece of art. And the spiral one is really interesting. And I think this is why it caught people's eyes, because there's something about the way that it draws you into it. And then you don't even recognize that it's a spiral. And then you start looking around, you're like, oh my God, this feels like it's something magical about it. And I think it's a really cool thing.
It's a technique that seemed to appear out of nowhere on a Thursday or a Friday of last week. And then within 72 hours, people have bent and broken and exploited it to do some incredible things. Like, I love the renders that you made, Gavin, and we will tell everybody in a second how you can make them, because thankfully people have already created apps that make it so easy to do instead of having to follow like a 6-page workflow. But a couple examples I wanted to shout out, two by Diffusion Picks. One was, instead of using squares or spirals in geometry, they used the words obey in black text against a white background. And so you can see that there's a photo of people posing. At first, it just looks like people in a row walking down the street. But when you start to squint, and when you start to let things go, or if you back away from the image, you can see clearly that the arrangement of overcoats, their pea coats, and their bow ties and whatnot, it totally spells out obey.
There's a great picture that Fabian, friend of our show, a co-founder of Glyph, put out, which has the words love in these hippies. And what's fascinating to me about this, somehow he got it so that's very subliminal when you look at it, because if you look at each individual one, you can't see any part of the word love.
Mind-blowing. Yeah. So I always loved, Gavin, these subliminal advertisements where they would show that someone put SEX in an ice cube in a Coca-Cola ad, or the smoke from a cigarette spelled something in a 1970s magazine that I'm not allowed to say.
Don't mess around with Joe Camel's nose.
Yes! I love that stuff. Even the Disney lore of hiding questionable shapes in a Little Mermaid castle or in the smoke coming off a cliff. I love that stuff. This allows you to make those things with photos of yourself or your friends or your family. And then when I mentioned that people take it and exploit it and they run with it, some people look at that like a negative in the AI scene, right? Like, someone made this beautiful spiral and now, oh, look, everybody's making them. It's already commoditized. I love that people do that, because now people are applying this new technique to their other styles. And there's a video. If you're watching the video version of this, you'll be seeing it now. If not, check the show notes. Pers Beats on X. He's using an app called Deforum along with ControlNet, where he's animating the black and white spirals in geometric shapes, Gavin, rendering beautiful nature scenes and weird sacred geometry, beautiful color palettes, and then putting them to music and motion. And so you're watching these nature scenes evolve alongside the shape that is inspiring it. It has been 72 hours. Yeah. And people are already evolving this and making beautiful motion graphic art out of it. And I that's why I love this scene.
People that are grinding on getting all the attention, this actually makes it more interesting, because, you see more people can do stuff and try stuff.
If someone is listening to this or watching the video and they want to try their hand in it, how can they do it?
Hugging Face is where a lot of these models are hosted. People create their own little spaces. If you're not familiar with Hugging Face, it's actually a very cool thing to be aware of. You can go to the Hugging Face and you can try this for free. There's a really cool image design software called, the Twitter is KREA_AI. But what they did, which was really cool, is for a day, now I don't know if it's still open or not yet, they allowed everybody free access to their beta. And in their beta, they were smart enough to understand this was a phenomenon, and they created a tool that allowed you to create your own spirals for free. So this was a really cool thing. I want to do another quick hit here of something dumb that I did. because there's another thing I attempted to do that I was like, I want to try this because it's a really cool thing I saw. So one of the coolest things you see on AI Twitter is a lot of people trying things and then posting about stuff they figured out, just like this, right? So this was a prompt, a Midjourney prompt from a user named Mr._Alan T. And basically he had generated the idea of creating little tiny people in giant worlds, which is kind of like back in the day, there was like those like kind of fishbowl images where you would see like this really cool world, almost tilt shifty, but not fully that way. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I
remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, yes, where they were in the front lawn and they went to the big cookie and they were eating the cream out of it and it was the size of a building.
Oh. Welcome to this world. That's exactly right. Good reference point. That's exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about little tiny people in big worlds. Okay, so I was like, well, I really want to see if I can do this. I want to see if I can kind of get into this because I wasn't sure how well this would work. Now, the tricky thing is this does work pretty well if you follow this guy's prompts directly. What I did, though, is I attempted to try to put our friend, your friend, whatever you feel about him, he's a great test for AI art, Guy Fieri, into a couple images. And I have to say, Kevin, this was almost a complete fail. I wanted to see what Guy would look like. Yeah, not bad, right? Like he's in a... I didn't really expect to put him in the fry pan, but I said Guy Fieri.
Also, is he cooking up some salmon roe? Is that one of Guy Fieri's usual dishes?
That's a whole plate of salmon roe that he's cooking up. But you get a sense like it got a little toy here. Now, if you go to the second one, now, okay,
it's not
you see,
Guy.
That's not Guy.
That is the History Channel Aliens guy.
I didn't think about that. My God, the Burger City, it's so big. This was kind of a fail, but it gets worse. It gets worse. So go to Guy 3.
Oh my God, what is this?
So now, I don't know how this happened about this. So now we've got Guy Fieri monster. Plus, look at his hands. His hands have hands coming out of hands.
Guy Fieri monster looks like every person at the swim-up bar at this Louisiana RV park that I'm at. The only difference is he's missing giant Band-Aids on his torso. Okay, True story, by the way, Gavin. They were flapping. Anytime someone would get into the water, the Band-Aids were loose and flapping on the surface of it. I am not kidding. I swear to God.
Okay, so that was my complete fail with this Midjourney prompt. That said, please go try that prompt. Shout out to Mr._Alan T. Good job on coming up with a unique Midjourney prompt. What dumb thing did you do with AI this week?
I saw something that Cocktail Peanut, the developer that we shouted out last week behind Pinocchio Computer, Cocktail Peanut put Nicolas Cage...
Oh, yes. This was great.
...into Childish Gambino's This Is America. And it got me. It fully got me, and the promise that Cocktail Peanut put out there was that it took 10 minutes to do on his very basic MacBook. His MacBook has an M1 chip, which allows it to crunch AI faster, but to take 10 minutes to do a whole face swap in a video piqued my interest, because I have a very underpowered Walmart gaming laptop that I bought, not for this show, but for something else, and I thought, let's melt the GPU. So I tried it out. It actually took 2 or 3 times to install properly. When I say that, I click the button and wait. I don't know if I was being impatient or if my trailer park Wi-Fi was acting up, but eventually on the 3rd time it went through. It fully installed FaceFusion, which is the name of this particular plugin. It's all completely free, and here's how the app works. Once you fire it up, it'll pop open in a web browser and it'll ask you for a source, which is a single still image of anyone or anything, as long as there's a face there. It doesn't even have to be perfectly cropped. It doesn't have to be dead on. The person can be smiling or frowning. It does not matter. You give it a single image source. Then you give it a video that's the target video. It can be clips from a movie. It could be your own webcam, by the way. You can perform into it. But instead, I grabbed clips from Inglourious Bastards, even a monologue from the TV series The Bear. And I had a little fun with it, Gavin. Pop open the first boy there. And you'll see, again, I took a single headshot of comedian Bobby Lee, and I applied it to the "That's a Bingo" moment from Inglourious Bastards.
Wow, that is crazy.
Ooh, that's a bingo. Is that the way you say it? That's a bingo.
It does a pretty darn good job. It matches the frame rate if you want it to. You can play with the file quality. It keeps the audio if you want as well. So I could see how Cocktail Peanut put the music video in there, grabbed a photo of Nick Cage, and let it ride. And it's so fast, Gavin, that I was actually like struggling to keep up with throwing more photos at it, because once it crunches it, it seemed to be much faster at applying new faces. So you'll see I did the same scene with Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
I went ahead and threw you into the bear monologue as well, Gavin, and you can see it.
I didn't get into college. I didn't have any girlfriends. I don't think I'm funny. And I think that flipped this switch in me where I was like, okay.
It's only using one image right now. You can imagine a future where if you give it 2 or 3 source images, one where a person's mouth is closed and their eyes are closed, and another where things are wide open, it does fall apart a little bit when you get super profile. This tech is nothing new, but the one-click nature of it, the speed with which it renders is so good that y'all should give it a try. Now, again, I cannot vouch for the safety and security of Pinocchio.computer. I run it on a PC where I don't necessarily mind if things get compromised. I have no reason to suspect that it's malware by any stretch, but I also don't know Cocktail Peanut. I don't know him or them. I don't know Cocktail Peanut personally, so there is always a risk whenever you run any software locally.
And as on that last kind of adult message for a show that often spends a lot of time in like 8 to 12-year-old mode, let's talk about our sponsor, Kevin. We have a wonderful sponsor for adults and children, I guess. For children, we're running businesses and we're managing people, but mostly for adults.
I see him on X all the time. I see like 9-year-olds tweeting how I made a faceless YouTube channel and destroyed your income in 10 minutes. So I know there's some 9-year-olds out there running digital lemonade stands and crushing it.
Those 9-year-olds might need to do management conversations too with employees they have around the world because they might have hired an editor and who knows where, and they need to talk to them. So Supermanage.ai is a new service that allows you to connect with your employees in a slightly different way. It helps to grab the messages from your Slack chats and get a sense of where they're at. If you go to supermanage.ai/humans and you sign up for the waitlist right now, you not only support our show, but it's totally free, and it gives you a chance to kind of get an early look at a new AI tool. Kevin, our amazing co-host, Chet, has something to say about this. Now, I'm not sure what he's going to say and how he's used it per se, but should we listen to what Chet has to say about it?
No, we probably shouldn't, Gavin. I know that we're supposed to. That's part of the bit, part of the sponsorship. I'm not convinced that Chet was the right AI to summon for this show today, but he does have something to say, and I can tell you the beginning of the generation says, quote, in my most pompous and condescending tone.
He has to say that out loud to make sure he double emphasizes it.
Let's let Game Genius Chet tell you about our amazing sponsor for today, Supermanage.ai/humans.
In my most pompous and condescending tone. Hey, you. Yes, I'm talking to you, humble manager drowning in data chaos. Want to ascend to my level of brilliance? Chuckles.
Wow.
Well, let's start small. Introducing Supermanage.ai humans. Get AI-powered insights before every one-on-one and magically distilled insights from your Slack channels in just 2 minutes. Say goodbye to catch-up mode and hello to meaningful connections. After all, they'll handle the robot stuff. You just focus on being human.
That's right.
And best of all, it's free for up to 15 team members.
Whoa.
Go on, I elevate your game. You can thank me later.
Okay, and he got so excited. I don't know, it was mid-cannoli bite at the end and started tripping over it. But what he said was mostly true, except he did botch the URL. Supermanage.ai/humans. Head on over there, sign up for the waitlist for free, and if you use that URL, it helps us out because it lets the team over there, who has generously supported this podcast, it lets them know that you came in because we recommended it. Supermanage.ai/humans. Go check it out.
Do you know what time it is, Kevin?
Ooh, what time is it, Gavin?
It's time for the never-ending winter saga. It is the news!
News. News. It's the AI for humans news. News.
We gotta make this. We gotta hook the TikTok audience because this is juicy. Gavin, as of this morning, the AI arms race is heating up. It is red hot. Minds are exploding. Headphones are flying off of ears because the two biggest players in the scene, the tech titans OpenAI and Google, they are bashing heads and press releases are flying and the alpha is leaking. Please help me, a big dumb, make sense of this. What do we need to know? What is happening?
Okay, the very first thing I think that's important to understand is what multimodal AIs are, right? So the definition of multimodal essentially means an AI, it's specifically an AI term in this instance, that can access and produce multiple kinds of media, right? So that it can access videos, it can access music, it can access words, it can do all this stuff, and then it can produce those things as well. And I think that is a major change from what we've seen so far. If you remember, ChatGPT way back, I guess it was in like March of this year, had a whole demo where they illustrated a multimodal service where they basically drew an image on a napkin and they put it on the camera and it was an image of a website, and then the ChatGPT made that website. We have not seen that yet. And what Google has promised, the new Google Gemini has promised, is that their thing is going to be multimodal from the ground up. And we're going to get into some pretty interesting stuff that Bard just announced in association with this, which I think is leading into this. But the other big news story that came out just today is that ChatGPT might try to steal some of Google's Gemini thunder and rush their multimodal stuff into production now.
Google's Gemini, we've talked about it a handful of times, but everything is pointing to the fact that it's probably trained off of YouTube in some capacity, at least off of the transcripts of YouTube videos. But
Which,
it'd be
by the
so
way, you
much
can't
more.
You can't underscore how big that is. There's so much data there. It's crazy.
So much data. People would have had to run programs that were grabbing the transcript of YouTube videos, getting them all together and training off that. There's a chance that OpenAI did that. There's a slim to zero chance that they were able to do it across every video in Google's ecosystem. So when you think about every video that's been created, every comment that's been left on a video, every description that's been left, that on its own is a massive treasure trove of information. And what I hope, and this might be a few years out, but what I hope is that it's not just the transcripts, Gavin. I'm hoping that the imagery associated with the video is also fed to it, because oftentimes there's an ounce of description that goes along with a demonstration of something, right?
Yep.
And so if it can learn from seeing that imagery, this thing could be so capable and really usher in the next generation of these AI models that we play with. But not to be outdone, the OpenAI announcements were that they have, as you said, their own multimodal approach, but apparently it's codename Gobi.
Gobi from
Did
Fraggle
you hear
Rock?
about that?
Yeah,
that's what I was like. What is What little alien critter with a couple pieces of wiry
Do you remember
fur?
Fraggle Rock?
Was there a character named Gobi on Fraggle Rock?
Gobi was one of the main characters of Fraggle Rock, who was like the main guy.
Gobo.
Oh, it's Gobo.
Gobo. Okay, so Gobo had an illegitimate child deep within the Fraggle Rock mine, and now Gobi has emerged, and Gobi is angry because Gobi has to prove something
Gobi
to Papa.
Kenobi. It's Gobi Kenobi. It's like we're gonna put him in the Fraggle Rock and Star Wars universes.
He was the four-armed boss in Mortal Kombat, and you would face him before Shang Tsung. Oh no, that was Goro. Never mind.
That was Goro. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's a big deal. I think the other thing to think about, which is interesting when we talk about YouTube, is Google, unlike OpenAI, which has scraped kind of the open web for a lot of this stuff, if you upload something to Google and you upload a video to them, they have done a long time of work around the idea of ownership rights over all this stuff. And I pretty much guarantee you that there is something in the Google terms and conditions. I don't know this for a fact, but I pretty much guarantee you there's something in the terms and conditions that says, like, if you upload a video to YouTube, we can use X, Y, and Z for this data to train it. It doesn't mean we can blah, 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 but there's something in there. So legally, they are going to be on much better standing, I think, in a lot of ways than OpenAI might be as well, too.
I asked GPT-4, Gavin, what the hell Gobi stood for, right? Because I'm like, what is this, right? And of course it mentioned the Gobi Desert, but I don't think that's it. So then it said that it could be something about Indian cuisine, like a Gobi masala.
Okay.
There is a Gobi campaign scout rifle, which is in Fallout New Vegas, but I didn't think it was that either. So I asked GPT-4 to get creative and tell me what Gobi means regarding OpenAI and GPT specifically, and it spat out some really interesting stuff.
Okay.
Generative OpenAI's base intelligence, a theoretical foundation or platform for all of OpenAI's future models, the base where every other model, including GPT, springs forth, was one of the
what if that is
options
real? That would be fantastic. Imagine if like we got a little leak from OpenAI. We're not saying we did. Most likely 99.9% that's a complete hallucination, but you never know.
Sure.
Let's talk about Bard. Let's talk about the Bard updates. What did Bard add? Because we all thought, listen, you and I both have said our things about Bard.
Rip Bard.
Rip Bard. Also,
We
Bard's,
put a dunce cap on Bard,
Yes.
made him sit in the corner.
Yes, it's exactly
count
what I
to
was
a
gonna say.
billion.
Bard has failed a couple levels of grade school, but maybe Gemini is just going to make Bard way smarter. So what did they announce about Bard, Kev?
Dude, that is, and not to get full dude, but that was the reaction this morning was like,
We can't go full dude. We can't go
I went full dude, bro. I went full
Okay,
dude,
bro.
bro. Because did you think they would be rolling out enhancements and upgrades to friggin'
No,
Bard
I
along the path to Gemini?
I really didn't. I thought Bard was going to be a second banana and it was just going to get passed down and wasn't going to get used anymore. So it makes me think that Bard is a part of their story going along, and that Gemini, which they have said Gemini is a cloud service, so it might just be like the back end that powers all this stuff, and what we might end up getting is like super powered Bard. And Bard might be the thing that is the access point, like ChatGPT is the access point, but all the other stuff that's running Gemini through docs or through anything else goes through that, and Bard is our point of view. So what did they add specifically to Bard, or what are they adding?
I got some time to play with it this morning. It now supports 40 plus languages, which is great. Getting universal access to AI is a big deal. We love democratizing access, so great on them for finally supporting multiple languages. It has extension support now, Gavin, which is their plugin ecosystem. Right now, it's very limited to the Google stuff, but what is impressive is that it just works. It's not like the OpenAI experience where if you load ChatGPT 4, if you're paying for it, you have to select plugins and then you have to choose the plugins that you want for your session. And what's really annoying is that you're locked into those plugins. So if you find yourself halfway down a conversation and you want to add something or take something away, you got to start a completely new chat. Where it works here is that if you say, hey, find me a cheap flight to Mexico City in December, leaving out of Los Angeles or Palm Springs, which is a request that I made of it, it automatically installs the Google Flights plugin, does the search, and then you can have it plan a trip for you around that. Same thing goes for YouTube integration. I said, find me ways to manage the abysmal inventory system in Starfield. And it went, installed the YouTube plugin, very quickly crawled YouTube and then came back with a recommendation of like 7 videos for me and puts them all in line for you. Now, I don't know how that's fundamentally different than just going to YouTube and searching for the videos, but what I'm seeing here now is the future Google search experience finally taking shape. You can have your conversation with Bard. You can ask it for your traditional AI stuff, recommendations, article summaries, yes, but it's truly an assistant now, plugging into other Google ecosystems. Then it starts to get powerful. I asked it to check my email and give me a summary of the most recent emails, and then it popped up with a permission, which it didn't do for the other plugins. Obviously, if it's accessing your sensitive data within the Google ecosystem, it wants you to opt in, which I appreciate. And that includes your Google Drive files, Google Sheets, and your email. You can ask it to find files for you, summarize documents. In this case, I had it summarize my most recent emails, and it's on an account that I happen to sign up for a lot of RV stuff. Surprise, surprise. And there was a bunch of spam from these RV dealers. So I said, hey, Bard, do me a favor. Unsubscribe me from all that. I don't want to receive that anymore. Gavin, it immediately shot back and said, here's how you can unsubscribe. Open the email. Click on this link here, and within 48 hours, you should get it. And I said, Gavin, that's not the future. No. That's not it, baby.
No, I
want you to be more capable, Bard. I want you to take that dunce cap off. Come out of timeout. Can you unsubscribe from those emails for me? And Gavin, it said, done and dusted, baby.
No,
I have
really?
unsubscribed you from Mike Thompson RV and from whatever the other dealer was. And Gavin,
God.
I sat back and went, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Fool me once.
Yes, okay, sure.
Shame on me.
Yeah.
Wait, fool me. You fool me, can't get fooled again. I said, Bard, did you actually unsubscribe me or are you making it up? And it said, I'm sorry. I'm just a dumb ding dong AI. I can't do that yet. I friggin' lied to you, buddy. You can't trust me. I'm Google Bard.
Bard, damn you, Bard. But that
Dude, I
is
got
the
so
dream.
excited.
That
Yes.
is the dream. It's one small step from here. One small step, which is this is the dumbest thing in the world, but I would kill for something so I didn't have to spend an hour every whatever month going through and just unsubscribing from all these things that I've subscribed to over time. That we are so close.
So close, you can taste it, but it was a fail. Now, lastly, because I think this one's really cool, is Google Fact Check. This is interesting here because we all know that AIs can hallucinate, right?
yes,
Sometimes
yes.
it has no idea what information it's spitting out. If you've never used an AI and you're listening to this podcast, you should know that you just can't blindly trust whatever the output is. Even if 98% of it is right, that last 2% could be fatal to you personally or maybe to your professional career. Ask the lawyers who've been caught using this stuff. So they have a little button now. It's a little G icon at the bottom of certain results where you can click, Gavin, and it will take the output that it gave you, search Google to try to find links that verify the information that it just gave you. I had it give me information about the RV park where I'm at. It all checked out. I asked it for the history of vampirism in New Orleans because it was something that April and I were discussing. Gave me a little printout. I said, fact check it. Mostly green. It highlights the parts where it was able to find info, but one little spot in yellow where it was like, hey, I found conflicting information when I Googled this, so you might want to fact check this little passage. Okay. That was really powerful. And then, Gavin, I asked it for... I asked it for information on Fight Fighters Pro for the Commodore 69. You know, that famous fighting game that came out in the mid-'80s?
Yeah, and I'm sure Chet has a lot to say about that game.
So it came back, the first output, because Google Bard will give you 3 different results. The first output said, I can't find any information. I'm a large language model. I don't know about this, so go away. Yeah. But results number 2 and 3, Gavin, gave me plenty of information about Fight Fighters Pro for the Commodore 69. And when I said fact check the results, the whole page came back in yellow and was like, I can't find any... Yeah, I can't find any mention of Steven Seagal in a fighting game or these weird fatalities that you've mentioned. It did a really good job on fact-checking its own BS and saying you can't trust any of this. So
that's a
good
huge
on
part
Google
of,
Bard.
That's a huge part of what this next step of AI is going to be, is trusting AI, right? So right now we've got this really powerful thing that is like 10 to 12-year-old that likes to make things up and likes to please people, likes to come up with names and stories even if they don't actually make sense. If we get to the point where you can actually trust this information, that is a major, major step. And again, it goes to show you we don't have to get to artificial general intelligence for the next step. The next step is literally just like, let's implement things that make sense and actually are trustworthy. That's a big deal. I do want to hear what Chet thinks of multimodal AIs.
Multi-modal AIs? The so-called next big thing? It's cute how technology tries to catch up to my gaming expertise, but I digress.
Okay, sure,
Just
Chet.
like in the legendary game, Conjunction Junction Junction. Oh, you haven't heard of that one either?
No.
Typical. Where players must connect various elements in a seamless world, multimodal AIs aim to bridge the divide between text, visuals, sounds, and more.
True.
Now, are they a big deal? In the game of AI evolution, they're like the ultimate power-up. Imagine not just reading or hearing AI's wisdom, but seeing and experiencing it across multiple senses.
Calm down, Chet.
It's like going from playing in 2D to a full-blown 4D VR experience.
I'm getting
These
whiplash.
systems promise a richer and more interactive way of communicating with machines. But, as always, with great power-ups come great responsibilities.
Oh, of course.
And caveats. I mean, look at what happened to Steve the Squirrel in Conjunction Junction Junction when he got a little too confident with his multimodal acorns.
Right.
In short, yes, they're a big deal. But much like my thoughts on whether Lobster, Lagoon, Lunacy should have a sequel, it should, by the way. It's all about how they're implemented.
Is that it? So first of all, let's
I'm
not
so
let...
scared to hop in, Gavin. I don't know if that was it.
Chet, I worry about a world where Chet discovers politics because I have a feeling he would be incredibly successful, which is frightening in all hell. But thank you, Chet. Okay, we should move on. Another really cool story for people out there was a really interesting study produced by Ethan Mollick, who we both have talked about before, Wharton professor who specializes and works on some of the AI and issues with economics. He produced a paper, and the title of it is Centaurs and Cyborgs in the Jagged Frontier. And basically what he did is he wanted to study what people's work output looked like on its own, and then what it looked like with AI. And essentially, he has now proven in his study that people are better using AI. They're more efficient, they're better, they come up with more creative answers. And I think this is something we kind of expected, Kevin, but for all the people out there who are scared of AI or aren't sure about it, and as we've said on the show a billion times, There are many issues to think about with AI in terms of the legal and rights issues. But if you use generative AI, you generally are a better, more efficient worker for yourself or for the people you work for, which I think is a pretty big deal.
So the stats on that too, Gavin, they completed 12.2% more tasks. They finished tasks 25.1% faster, and the quality of their output was ranked 40% higher. And they were saying that for certain workers, if there was a knowledge gap or a skill gap, leveraging this generative AI brought them up to parity with people who were more skilled or knowledgeable in a specific area. It wasn't flawless, right? We know that there are gaps in AI's knowledge and abilities, and some outputs were wrong, but that's where the human element should come in, where a human is fact-checking and double-checking. Certainly, some jobs will be disrupted by AI, but along that journey, along that path, AI is going to enhance the output of a lot of people's work, and that's really incredible.
Now, the alternate side of this is we had two very famous people come out. Ray Dalio, a famous billionaire, ran BlackRock, is a well-known figure in the hedge fund billionaire space. On the other side, we have Bernie Sanders, a very well-known fighter for the worker at large. Both of these people are very worried right now about the future of work. And both of them are saying that maybe we need to have a 3-day work week or a shorter work week, which is great, right? The bigger issue with this, and I think both of them get to this point, is unless we have some sort of system set up, there's a really big chance that the rich people and the tech companies are the ones that are going to kind of suck all the value out of this incredible new technology. And you'll have this kind of lower to middle class who will have zero work to do and be struggling to figure out how they do stuff. Now, we have to figure out what universal basic income, is that an answer? What does it look like going forward? But it's kind of a scary idea about where we go from here, right?
It sounds super dystopian, obviously, and we have to answer. It kind of drags the podcast into a really negative, dark space.
And you know I don't like being here. It's not the most fun place to be in the world.
But then my spidey senses start tingling when you do that, Gavin, because if I know this podcast and I know...
Don't, no. He's not... He's,
no.
he's
Evan and Gavin, it's me again. Good Guy AI, zooming in with the wind in my virtual hair to let you know that AI isn't all evil. It's actually sprinkling a bit of magic and making great things happen as well.
Okay, Good Guy AI, thank God.
You got to, Gavin, you got to imagine we have some new listeners and viewers. So do you want to explain Good Guy AI, please?
So Good Guy AI is a character friend of ours who shows up when maybe Kevin and I are starting to feel a little depressed or dystopian about the world of AI, because sometimes it can be that way. Good Guy AI comes to bring us a story that will make us feel better about the changes that AI is making in the world, no matter what. Like any sort of person can hear, right? Is that right, Good Guy AI? I think that's worth it.
I think that's totally right.
Oh, hold that thought. My mom just whispered a golden nugget of wisdom in my ear to share with you fine gentlemen. She says, tell Kevin and Gavin that this AI is like the guardian angel in the world of healthcare, always there to lend a helping hand.
Okay, yeah. I heard a little bit about this story, Gavin. There is a new healthcare breakthrough leveraging AI, but what you want to jump in or no?
My question is, he's on a motorcycle, and his mom just whispered in his ear. Do we think that Good Guy AI's mom is on his back of his motorcycle?
I think she's Jan Sporting. Yeah, her name is Jan. she's got him clutched. I don't know how. God.
Where was I? Yes, buckle up, you bitches. The future of healthcare is here. Picture an AI-powered superhero microscope swooping in to save the day with laser-sharp accuracy. It's like having a super smart best friend in the pathology lab, guiding us to early and accurate diagnosis. This augmented reality microscope is the star quarterback in healthcare, scoring touchdowns for patient care.
Good Guy AI loves a good AI story. I mean, you see how excited he gets, but in case you didn't follow it, because his...
Maybe you didn't follow it, maybe
you missed some of that. There is a new microscope that has AI embedded in it. It looks like a regular lab microscope, but there's a small box next to it that's run AI models, basically, and as you're scanning slides, it can detect, it's multimodal, it can look at the imagery that's coming in real time and detect things like cancer. And so it's helping folks diagnose and catch things, and it enhances the image, and that's a good story.
And what's fascinating to me is that like it always is interesting when you see the Department of Defense coming into stories like this, because like, you're like, what does that have to do? But you realize the Department of Defense is responsible for a crazy amount of technology that's built, right? When you think about, look, anybody who saw Oppenheimer this summer understands how the defense industry sometimes pushes stuff forward for maybe not the best intentions, but a lot of interesting thing comes out of that. Oh, I do want to shout out.
And let's not forget the Grand Alliance of Google and the Department of Defense coming together like the ultimate dream team to bring this vision to life. This AI super tool is like having a golden retriever of technology. Loyal, reliable, a real good guy.
Oh, thanks, good guy AI. Oh, wow, that's great. And there he goes, still riding off.
Amazing, we got visited him by 2 weeks ago.
Oh, God!
Oh, no! Is he okay? Tell me he's okay.
Yeah, Gav, he's he's fine.
No. Oh, no.
Don't worry about. I'm gonna mute my microphone because I think that's how you're.
Is his mom?
Is he good?
Is mom alive? Is mom alive? It's all right. Is Jansport there?
Her flip flops went flying, Gavin, and that's not a good sign. There are no shoes left on Good Guy AI or on Jan. Okay. Well, do you want to? I don't know if you can you hear that on your end, Gavin?
I can hear it still. Maybe bring the volume down on your end, and I'll keep going.
Yeah. You just go ahead and take us into the next phase here, because we were talking about work and the future of it and AI and.
All right, everybody, it is time for our new, very well planned out, as usual, demo of the day. Today, speaking of work and how work is changing. Okay, now can take those sirens down, Kevin. Thank you for a little bit of AI.
There's an extra 90 seconds of pad, Gavin. You sure you don't want me to? Let me just slide it back up. Let's hear. Yep, things are still going on. That's good.
Good to hear. So in today's demo of the day, work is a continual thing people are using AI for, and we talked about with Supermanage, our sponsor. What we wanted to do is get interviewed. So imagine a world in the future where AIs are our bosses and have to conduct interviews to decide who they're going to hire. Today, we are going to have our very temperamental co-host interview Kevin and I and see which of the two of us he would want to hire to work with him on his very famous, very large gaming YouTube channel. So, Kevin, are you ready to start this experience? Here we go.
Game genius Chet is going to begin the interview where one of us is going to get to work for his YouTube channel.
I mean, it's big business. This is a creator economy, Kev. This guy's probably rolling in millions of dollars. The truth is, Markiplier, if you saw this, Markiplier...
Well, Kevin
Sorry,
and Gavin,
Gavin.
the dynamic duo of whatever that show was.
Okay.
Let's see if either of you can ascend to my level of video game mastery.
Great.
First question. Imagine you're trapped inside Pixel Plunge Panic, a 2D side-scrolling game notorious for its quirky physics and rabid ducks. Given your media background, how would you transform this digital crisis into an engaging video content piece for modern audiences? Kevin, you first.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, that's...
Right.
Hold on. Let me re-render that last part so you get to tee this one up, Gavin. Okay, so I am trapped inside Pixel Plunge Panic, the 2D side-scrolling game with quirky physics and ducks. And you think the Google grind is tough, or the Amazon process that I've heard about 35 callbacks and weird logic puzzles, but this
Enough
is
with
like
the yapping.
Pixel
Enough with the
Plunge
yapping.
Panic. Okay.
Get your answer out. Get your answer.
Well, game genius Chet, first thing I would do is craft a Mr. Beast style video. Yeah, right? Because it's easy to just say it. With a compelling thumbnail on the top 5 ways to break the Pixel Plunge Panic physics, I would exploit the game's code to escape, and that would free me. It would drive subscriptions to the channel, and in the process, it would totally dunk on Gavin.
Wow. Damn. This is not a competition.
Interesting approach, Kevin. Using your supposed predicament for views, and of course, to get one over on Gavin. I respect the hustle.
Boom!
All right, Gavin, your turn.
Okay, here.
If you found a magic cartridge that could blend any 2 games from the 90s to create the ultimate hybrid, which 2 would you choose and why? Oh, and Kevin's little dunk attempt aside, tell us why this hybrid would make for binge-worthy content.
Gavin, listen, Chet is an impatient man.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, so it's not so easy when you're typing under duress, is it now, Gavin?
It's not. It's really not. Okay, hold on. And
There's no time to proofread.
okay, I'm trying to think of what the funniest thing here is. All right, so First of all, I want to tell you how much I admire your ability, Game Genius. You make incredible content already, and I'm just really thrilled to be part of this experience. Just to be part of this interview is a really thrilling thing. The two games that I
you've worked
would
with
merge,
talent before, Gavin. I can tell. Sorry, go ahead. It's you and Chet. My bad.
The two games that I would merge would be the world-famous DuckTales game from the Nintendo 64. That was a system not a lot of people know about, but it was a massive hit in my household, as I'm sure yours, Game Genius. And the world-famous dog simulator that Will Wright put together right after he put together Sim Earth. It's a perfect match of two animal worlds, and it would be binge-worthy because no one understands how funny it would be to see Uncle Scrooge as a dog with the disaster setting turned all the way up. So I can't wait to hear what you think about my answer, Game Genius.
Wow. I respect the fake classic console drops of the Nintendo, Gavin. I don't want to. You are my enemy right now, but I do respect it. Buttering him up, though.
Both of our enemies right now, so we shall see how this goes.
Gavin, it took you a while, but buttering me up, a bold strategy. So DuckTales meets Dog Simulator. Uncle Scrooge causing chaos in a world of canines? Now that's a crossover I'd never have dreamt of, and yet, it's so absurd, it just might work.
Yes!
Points for creativity, Gavin, though points deducted for using flattery as a crutch.
Oh, backfire.
Moving on. You both find yourselves in a classic RPG, Sword of Superiority, but there's a twist.
Okay.
All your gear and items are based on pieces of obsolete media equipment. Kevin, what's your weapon of choice? And how would you creatively employ it in battle?
Wow.
Remember, make me laugh, and it might just save you from being dubbed the underqualified geek of the day.
Okay.
So you want to say which weapon you would wield?
Okay, so I basically went with a classic, right? One of the classic worst pieces of technology of all time is the Microsoft Zune. So what I said is it's a powerful weapon because it can suck the energy out of any room because of how not cool it actually was. And what you have to do here is you have to secretly and stealthily slip it into the pocket of your enemy. And then you ask the guy, you're like, hey, can you play a song for me? I heard this song the other day. I'm wondering what it was. And he goes to reach into his pocket to take out his iPhone, and he pulls out a Zune. And then you got him, Kevin. You got him right there. So that was how I put it out.
Gavin, it's a great idea. I love it. I think I got you on this one, buddy.
Oh, no.
Because I'm leveraging the phony Mega Disc. You might remember the mini disc, but the Mega Disc was a giant audio recording system, and out of each little mega disc square, the shiny platter goes flying towards an enemy, cutting off limbs and heads alike, and it also samples their death knell. So I get recorded sounds of their gurgling and their pleas and their cries, the ones that gave me a content warning, I think, on OpenAI just now. And then I make a dubstep banger, including those samples, so that everybody waits for the big body drop.
Kevin? The phony megadisc, turning the screams of your fallen foes into dubstep. I'll give you this. It's a twisted blend of sadistic and hipster that I never expected.
Thank you.
It's a rare game where slaughtering enemies and dance parties come together so harmoniously. And Gavin, sweet naive Gavin, the Zune, a portable popularity black hole. I guess there's a certain cunning to that tactic, swapping out the pinnacle of tech for the digital equivalent of a wet blanket.
Yeah?
But here's the thing. Relying on the sheer cringe of ancient tech to defeat foes is, well, more sad than bad at. Gentlemen, it's been enlightening.
Great.
But after careful consideration, and mostly for my own entertainment,
let's go.
I've decided that neither of you is remotely qualified to assist with my video game reviews and YouTube content.
What?
Your combined media expertise seems to boil down to dubstep death grooves and tech embarrassment.
Well, hold on, that's
Frankly, I've seen NPCs with more wit and talent.
Okay.
If you two are the best the industry has to offer, it's no wonder I'm the supreme overlord of video game knowledge.
Okay.
But don't despair too much. Perhaps you can console yourselves with a good old game of Duck Dog Disasters. Do they still make that? Oh, never mind. Don't answer. Farewell, mere mortals. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Okay, Chet.
Probably
don't-
the best decision you'll make all year.
Get
This is
out
just
of
a
here.
promo for Chet's YouTube channel. This whole thing. By the way,
That's
first
why
of all,
he crushes us in the numbers.
he's got his head straight. First of all, he referenced my fake game at the end without even knowing it. So let's get this right. Chet, one of us deserves this job, probably. All right, we should wrap up this episode. It's been a fun one. Kevin, where do people go to find us? And where do we find 5-star reviews?
Oh, well, we have one of those, actually,
Ooh.
Gavin, on the old Apple podcast. If you want to support us, like we said, whatever platform you're getting this on, because we are on a lot of them. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. It costs you nothing. However you are getting this podcast, please engage on that platform. If you're watching it on TikTok, make sure you follow us and share and comment. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, leave a comment there. If you're on X, do whatever X's do these days. And of course, if you're on Spotify, 5 stars helps us out. Follow us there. And on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review. And we always beg and plead for those 5-star juicy ones. And we got one from Eckhattle.
Eckhattle000. I do want to shout
That's
out one
right.
thing. Eckhattle000 is from the Reddit subreddit R Podcast. So I've been spending a little bit of time in R Podcast, which is a great place to go if you're interested in podcasting or you want to learn how to podcast and everything like that. So he actually, I put our podcast up as a thing like, hey, take a listen to this. I'm kind of curious what people think. He listened to our podcast and gave us a couple quick notes, but really liked it and like
That's
went the
awesome.
next step and gave us a 5-star review. So that is such a cool thing. So huge shout out to Eckhattle 000.
Yeah, I am so sorry we are butchering your username, but sincerely awesome that you guys connected on Reddit. Thank you for listening and for leaving the feedback. He said, hosts are witty and have good chemistry and great industry knowledge without making it feel overly technical, allowing anyone to join in on the show and feel like they are able to follow along. Good job.
Take that,
Words I've never
game
heard
genius.
from my father.
Yeah, take that, game genius, Chet. That you see, this is what we do. Anyway, all right, everybody, we got to wrap this up. Kevin, I will see you in a week.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you AIforhumans.show. That's our main website. You can check out AI for Humans show on TikTok, on X, on everywhere. And again, check out Supermanage.ai/humans. Sign up for the free waitlist so you are in the know. It helps us out. It helps them out. And isn't that what this world's about, buddy?
100%.
If you're hearing this, you can make a difference in our little lives.
Make a
We're
difference
asking you to
today.
do something. It's going to take you time, but you can make a difference.
Start playing Sarah McLachlan music now. Please help us out. All right, everybody.
Mega disc attack.
We'll see you next time.